Hello, this presentation is about diversity training courses in the ITP curriculum. It's senior, not presenter, but senior presentation. Excuse me. So hello, I am Yolanda Allgood, and that's my sign name, the I love you sign, with the wiggle of the index finger up against my cheek. And I am a freelance interpreter, and I do community work located in Dayton, Ohio. And I'm about to receive my BSI, y'all, from NTID. Hey. My plans after graduation, as far as education, is to get my master's, possibly my PhD. I'm not sure. Dr. Allgood. That sounds nice, but we'll have to see. Anyway, I will continue after graduation to support the deaf community through representation. To support the deaf community, and it will be the representation and diversity and inclusion and being an advocate for that, as well as equal access. And as you can see, the research question, you can take a moment to read that. As you move on from graduation into the community with BIPOC interpreters and white interpreters alike working together, you have to backtrack and think about the BIPOC interpreters that graduated from the ITPs that had no cultural diversity training in their curriculum. What are their experiences like that's connected to race and ethnic relations? As they work with their colleagues and clients, what happens after that? Those BIPOC interpreters from the ITPs that lack the diversity and cultural training, what do they report as far as their experiences? It's a good question, right? As far as literature review, it's broken down into 3 categories. And the first one is diversity training. Just to let you know about the setup, with every fact or review, there will be a citation underneath it. Diversity training, let's go back to it. Diversity training is where it was speaking about the various levels going into depth about how the ITPs, regardless of the levels, struggle to be able to meet the needs of BIPOC interpreters. They were never successful. And it's because diversity and cultural training is non-existent in those programs. Excuse me. Moving on to the second review rather, which is the lack of representation. And what that means is when you have your ITP programs, all the educators and teachers, you think they look like me at all? No, they're white. There's no representation at all. And the discussion is of that, stating that's where it starts. That's where diversity starts. You need to have diverse educators. I'll go to the third one. Excuse me, it's cough. So the third one, we speak in depth about the cultural competence and how there isn't any. The interpreting profession as a whole doesn't have any. We all getting each other? No. There's a disconnect, and it always happens. And that disconnect from our white colleagues and clients is what impacts us African American interpreters or BIPOC interpreters to feel overwhelmed and deflated in our interpreting to eventually be impacted. An environment where we all work together and feel connected? No. We orbit around each other, and that always happens. And it's continuing to happen. And it impacts our processing or BIPOC interpreters processing. And they feel overwhelmed and just tend to give up and burn out. That is what I'm talking about. And next, moving on to methodology. And there are two types: surveys and interviews. The participants in this survey are going to be graduates from an ITP. There's no time limitation as far as how many years from graduation until now. All experience is welcome. So please, please, I would like to hear about it. Also, BIPOC and white interpreters, and you're actively working in the interpreting profession. And have to be active doing something. So the survey's layout is mainly closed. So there's two open-ended questions at max, and the rest would be closed. I want to set up this way because do I really want to know about your experiences in depth? Yes, I want to know about individual experiences. But more than two seems like an interview, and that's not where we're at in the process right now. It's just survey. Also, I chose all of the options. As part of the survey because I feel like variety is important. And sampling is something that I think is best fit for this project because I can't interview everyone in the US that interprets. I would love to, but I can't. So one small group who I'm interviewing has to represent the whole. So to move on, we're going to distribute electronically. And of course, the participants have to give consent first. The two ways are through Qualtrics and social media interpreting support groups. Excuse me. Those support groups love giving feedback, so it would be successful. Also, local agencies. When the survey is finished, I collect all the data and I do a content analysis, type everything up, figure everything out, and then compute it and put it into graph form so you can see. Okay. Moving on to interviews, participants, 4 to 6 tops. It's people that are giving consent from the surveys. So I have an example of a list of questions I would ask, and you can read them. It's just to give you an understanding of how the process would go for interviewing, what type of questions I would ask. I would set up interviewing with Zoom, not face to face. Zoom gives you the availability to contact locally as well as long distance, and I'm okay with that. Is it a super formal, structured interview? No, it's more like a semi-structured chat, and I would do a transcription of the interview. So I really I hope so much that these results would yield the following, that I collect amount of data so that I have all this concrete evidence that I could give to an ITP. And when they receive it, they would be impressed by the research and accept it and see that it is imperative to have diversity and inclusion training and culture training as well in an ITP. The ones that benefit from this in the interpreting field would be BIPOC interpreters, because they would feel comfortable going into an atmosphere that feels supported. And also as well as BIPOC clients, because they would feel that their individuality, their attitude, their culture, who they are is accepted and honored and respected. And it's given a perfect representation and match and interpret when interpreting for them, regardless of who it is. Here's a reference page, and there are some awesome reads. So take a look. And we're done. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Bye.